very hard to build up social cohesion and social trust. It's very hard to socially engineer that. Right? There aren't that many options or any effective government options to build up social trust, except perhaps to reduce immigration. Governments try to engineer social trust because that's huge for an economy. It makes the country much more effective. And a country with high social trust is going to fight much harder for each other, is going to be willing to sacrifice much more for each other. And governments try a bunch of things to increase social trust. It's one of the most studied topics by academics, trying to have an effect on public policy. So the dominant academic approach to building social trust is that you got to reduce the economic inequality, so more social welfare spending. So basically we'll build up the social trust. But it really boils down to intangibles. Social trust is primarily a cognitive thing. Right? It primarily exists in people's minds, and so generally speaking you'll find that more intelligent people are more trusting when they have reason to do so. So less intelligent people, they sense that they're less intelligent, that others are smarter than them, therefore they tend to be highly distrusting because they think everyone else is out to rip them off. So obviously it's easier for smart people to navigate life than dumb people. So one thing you could do to build social trust is to enact policies that would encourage intelligent people to have more children and to discourage unintelligent people from having children. But that would be called eugenics. That's a very, very bad thing. That is probably the one government policy that would have a significant effect on social trust. So intelligent people are much more likely to seek win-win solutions. Intelligent people tend to be more trusting, when appropriately so. But if you rip them off, then they will be much more effective in wreaking revenge on you. Comes the rain. So look at this rock. It's in the dirt, kind of comes sliding down. Good rain, but apparently that's a good solid rock. Not much dirt there, so not much chance of onrushing debris. A little bit of rainforest. Just get off the street and you get right into the rainforest here. And then bucket heads. So you'd think that perhaps urban societies would be more trusting if there's like a long history of people living very closely packed together, such as in Japan and China and Korea. Perhaps that might produce social trust, but it does in Northeast Asia, but it doesn't tend to around the rest of the world. So you'd think also a more uniform society is, by definition, right, more cohesive. So a less individualist society, I think maybe there'd be more social trust. But Australia, New Zealand, and the United States prior to the 1960s were quite individualist compared to Japan, China, and Korea, yet they still had high social trust. So a corporate culture does not necessarily create social trust, but perhaps it reflects social trust such as in Northeast Asia. So one thing that exemplifies the cohesiveness of Australia is that in December everyone says Merry Christmas. Right? So they unite around this common holiday, Merry Chrissy. So haven't heard anyone say Happy Holidays instead of Merry Chrissy. That makes for a more cohesive society. So Australia is very secular compared to the United States, but still they all unite around Christmas. So Japan, China, these are not monotheist societies, yet they have comparatively high levels of social trust compared to many quote-unquote Christian nations. So Japan's a good example of a country that's pretty good without God. Right? They have very low rates of crime, very high rates of social trust and social cohesion. There's very low rates of belief in monotheism, belief in God, Christianity or Judaism or Islam. So can people be good without God? Well, look at Japan. Right? They have a morality that would put all Christian nations to shame. Right? They're more law-abiding than Jewish Israel.